Have you ever been sitting on a plane, looked out the window at that massive wing, and just thought to yourself, how in the world is this actually working? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the greatest engineering marvels out there, how airplanes really fly.
I mean, really think about that for a second. A 500-ton metal tube just hanging out miles above the Earth. It feels like it should be impossible, right? Like it's breaking the laws of physics. But what's so cool is that it's actually a perfect demonstration of those laws. The secret isn't some kind of magic, it's a beautifully choreographed dance between four invisible forces.
Yep. Just imagine an invisible game of tug-of-war happening all around that plane in the sky. You've got these four fundamental forces: lift, weight, thrust, and drag, all in a constant push and pull. And mastering that invisible battle, well, that is the secret to flight.
So let's meet the players in this little aerodynamic drama. In one corner, you've got the two natural forces that are doing everything they can to keep the plane on the ground, and in the other corner, you have the two engineered forces, designed specifically to win this fight.
First up, the undisputed champ of bringing things down: weight. This is just gravity's relentless pull on everything. The plane itself, the people, the cargo, the fuel, you name it. It's the one force that's always there, always saying, nope, you're not going anywhere.
And its tag team partner is drag. You can think of this as the friction of the sky. As the plane tries to slice through the air literally pushes back. Every single surface, from the smooth nose cone to the tiniest little rivet, creates this resistance, constantly trying to slow the plane down. But here's our first champion, designed to fight back against drag: thrust. This is the raw, brute power blasting from the engines. Whether it's giant propellers grabbing the air or massive jet engines blasting it out the back, thrust is the force that says, oh yes, we are, and shoves the whole thing forward. And finally, we get to the most elegant, almost magical piece of the puzzle: lift. Now, this isn't about brute force. It's a much more clever trick. By making airflow over those specially curved wings, we generate an upward force that directly stands up to gravity. This is where the real genius is.
And here's the part that might just blow your mind. When a plane is just cruising along nice and smooth, these four forces are in a state of perfect harmony. Lift is exactly equal to weight, and thrust is exactly equal to drag. The plane isn't conquering gravity. It's achieved a state of perfect weightless balance. It's like the universe's most impressive balancing act.
Okay, but obviously a plane has to do more than just cruise. It has to climb and turn and land. So how do pilots actually manipulate this delicate balance? Well, let's look at the most important tool they have for controlling lift. It's something called the angle of attack. Now, this isn't the angle of the plane relative to the ground. It's much simpler. You know when you stick your hand out of a moving car window? That angle your hand makes with the wind, that's your angle of attack. Pilots do the exact same thing with the plane's wings to dial in exactly how much lift they want to generate. And check this out. This creates a really fascinating trade-off between speed and that angle. Look at these two diagrams. To get the same amount of lift, a slow-moving plane, like the one on the left coming into land, has to tilt its wings way up for a high angle of attack. But a super-fast plane at cruising altitude, like the one on the right, barely needs to tilt them at all. It's this constant dance between speed and angle.
But there's a limit. If a pilot gets too greedy and increases that angle of attack too much, the air can't follow the curve of the wing anymore. It just breaks away into turbulent chaos, just like you see here. This is called a stall. And it's so important to know, a stall has nothing to do with the engine quitting. It's a purely aerodynamic event where the wing just can't make lift anymore because it's exceeded its critical angle. Okay, let's circle back to drag for a second. It turns out this force kind of has a split personality. There are actually two completely different types of drag, and get this, they behave in completely opposite ways. Understanding this difference is absolutely key to flying efficiently. So on one side, you've got parasite drag. This is the one that makes sense. It's the price of speed. The faster you try to push through the air, the harder the air pushes back. Simple. But on the other side is induced drag. This is the weird one. This is the price of lift. And here's the crazy part. It's highest when you're flying slowly. That's right, the slower you go, the harder the wing has to work and the more of this lift tax you have to pay. And if you're wondering what that lift tax actually looks like, well, here it is. All that high-pressure air under the wing is trying to escape to the low-pressure area on top. The only place it can do that is by swirling around the wingtips, creating these powerful tornado-like vortices. The energy it takes to churn up the air like that is literally being stolen from the aircraft. That's induced drag. Now take a look at this graph.
On the left, at low speeds, that induced drag is through the roof. On the right, at high speeds, that parasite drag completely takes over. But look right there in the middle, at the very bottom of that U-shaped curve. That's the sweet spot. That's the most efficient speed for the airplane, where pilots get the best bang for their buck, aerodynamically speaking.
So you might be thinking this all sounds like a really tricky balancing act, and it is. But here's the cool part. Aircraft are actually designed with an amazing amount of built-in stability. In a lot of ways, they want to fly straight and level all by themselves.
You ever notice how the wings on an airliner are angled up just a little bit? That's called dihedral, and it is a brilliantly simple self-correcting feature. If a gust of wind knocks one wing down, that lowered wing automatically starts generating more lift, and it pushes itself right back up until the plane is level again. It's like the plane has its own internal balance beam. And what about staying pointed in the right direction? Well, for that, we have the big vertical tail fin. It works exactly like a weather vane. That huge surface area in the back makes sure that if the nose gets pushed to the left or right, the wind immediately pushes the tail back into alignment. It's naturally self-centering.
All right, so let's put this all together. Let's see how this dynamic balance of forces actually shifts when a pilot wants to maneuver the plane.
So how does a plane turn if it doesn't have a steering wheel? Well, it actually uses lift. By banking the wings, the pilot cleverly redirects some of that awesome upward force and points it sideways. As you can see right here, part of the lift is still holding the plane up against gravity, but the other part is now physically pulling the plane into the turn. You're literally flying around a corner on a cushion of air.
And what about a climb? Just think about riding a bike up a really steep hill. You're not just fighting against the wind anymore, you're also fighting against gravity. It's the exact same for an airplane. When it's angled upward, the thrust from the engines has to fight both drag and a portion of the plane's total weight. That's why climbing always means pouring on the power.
And that brings us to this quote, which just sums it all up perfectly. Flight is not the conquering of gravity, but the mastery of balance. See, it's not about winning a war against physics. It's about understanding the rules of physics so well that you can make them dance for you.
So the next time you're on a flight, just remember that invisible dance happening all around you. It's an amazing reminder that sometimes the most incredible feats of engineering aren't about overpowering nature, but about understanding it so perfectly that you can work with it. It kind of makes you wonder, what other everyday magic is out there, just hiding in plain sight?